What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel for another brief review. As I stated in my review of Black Bag, I have a lot of movies I'm trying to cover this weekend and a limited time to do so, so the videos are going to be a tad bit shorter. Today we are talking about Novocaine, a movie that I remember seeing the preview for the first time when I was in the theater watching a movie with a friend, and after the trailer played, we both turned to each other and said, "This looks incredibly stupid." Well, you know, it's kind of nice to be proven wrong every once in a while. I feel like in the last couple of years, we've had this big surge of action comedies that are trying to be as self-aware yet violent as they possibly can. You know, things like Nobody. I think last year there was that one Boy Kills World or whatever it was called. It's not that I didn't like the idea behind this film, because I actually think it is very creative. We follow this character, Novocaine, played by Jack Quaid, who has congenital insensitivity to pain, I believe is what the disease is called. It's a real thing, and obviously what we're seeing here is a heavily fictionalized version of that disorder. It basically makes him impervious to most forms of pain, and obviously that lends itself to a lot of really fun and creative sequences in which he takes a lot of damage, his body gets totally mangled and roughed up, and yet he's still able to come back swinging. And Jack Quaid is once again typecast as the introvert, weird dude who doesn't really do much in a social setting. I don't know, I mean, he's good at doing it, but I don't want him to play that character in every movie. It's time for him to branch out a little bit. Early on in the film, Nathan meets a girl played by Amber Midthunder. The two of them strike up a bit of a relationship that I actually thought was pretty endearing. Like, the first 20 minutes of this movie suggest that it is going to be a very different film than it winds up being. And honestly, I would have been fine with it just being a romantic comedy because it was doing a good job of that. However, a group of criminals infiltrate and rob a bank that Nathan works at, and they take this girl, Sherry, as their hostage. So he now finds himself on a mission to save her because this is, I guess, the love of his life that he met a couple days ago. Sure, fine. You know, it doesn't really make a lot of logical sense when you think about the fact that this guy was super timid.
Oh my God, what am I doing?
And I get that part of the point of her character was to bring him out of his shell, and that allows him to become the guy that we see in the movie, Novocaine, at his fullest potential. And you know what, I'll just come out and say it. This movie is extremely predictable. It is formulaic. You could guess most of the things that happen towards the third act. Nathan spends almost the entirety of the second act searching through all these breadcrumbs to follow Sherry's trail. And you know exactly how it's going to go. There are very few deviations from the formula during the second act, and because of that, I found it to be the most dull part of the film. It does have some cool action sequences. I won't lie, I enjoyed the scene where he punches a bunch of glass shards and then goes to town on a dude's face. I'm all for some mindless, gory action, but I do think the second act of this movie brings it down a bit, because it is at its best when it is going full octane. Ray Nicholson plays the main bad guy, and as superficial and not complex as his character is, he was very charismatic. I don't think the apple fell very far from the tree in this case. The dude was awesome in Smile 2. He's awesome in this, so I can't wait to see what he does next. I did already express that I have some gripes with the pacing, particularly in the middle chunk of the film. I also wasn't a huge fan of Jacob Batalon, who I do like, but once again, he's another actor who is being typecast constantly as the nerdy sidekick, and I wish they would give him something else to do in this movie. And half of his lines are delivered over a phone call and not even in person. And there are a few moments that I think over-exaggerate and go a bit too far with the absurd angle. I understand that this is not a movie taking itself very serious, but one thing that I think the writers occasionally lost sight of is the fact that just because you can't feel pain doesn't mean you can't feel something, any kind of sensation, and it certainly doesn't mean that you can't still bleed out or die. Without exception, head trauma and blood loss do not exist in this movie. There are so many instances where Nathan takes blows to the head or gets stabbed through the thigh with an arrow, for instance, and it's just gushing blood, and somehow he's able to stand right back up and keep fighting. Overall, it's just an aggressively solid movie with good acting, solid chemistry between the two leads, decent action, decent pacing. Pretty much everything about this film is decent. It never aspires to be anything more than that, and I'm fine with it. If you're trying to decide between seeing Black Bag or this, I would say this is the movie to go see if you're going to watch it with a beer in your hand and buddies at your side, because let's face it, you're going to be laughing with the movie and at the movie depending on which sequence you're watching, and I think both of those are best enjoyed in a group setting. I'm going to give Novocaine 3 stars. I saw Black Bag and Novocaine back to back in the theater, and I have to say it's been a while since I've done a double feature and enjoyed both movies, so happy to be pleasantly surprised. So those are my thoughts on the film. Be sure to let me know what you think of it down in the comments if you do check it out. Stay tuned for more videos just like this one. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.